This is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today. Today we're going to talk about the number one way you can save money by growing your own food. Specifically, there's one crop that I'm currently growing in my whole entire garden here that'll absolutely save the most money if you grow these things in your garden. So I'm not going to tell you now. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Whole Foods and I'm going to show you guys how much these plants or these things sell for, and I think you'll find it truly amazing. So let's go to that clip. Now we're inside Whole Foods, and this is the number one way to save money if you do have a garden. It's by simply growing your herbs. Herbs are very simple to grow, but yet they're very expensive. Here we are in Whole Foods at the produce section. You can see they got all these herbs: sage, oregano, chives, rosemary, basil, and whatnot. Check it out. They're $2.49 each. Now that is a little bit high because Whole Foods is also known as Whole Paycheck, but normally herbs are like $1.99 for a little package. This package of edible flowers is just 3/4 of an ounce, and that's $2.49. And if you multiply that out, $2.49 to make it a pound, that's like $50 a pound. So instead of buying, herbs that, number one, don't last too long. I mean, some of this basil, this stuff is already turning, looks horrible. Basil doesn't like to be kept cold. It likes to be fresh, picked on the plants. And it's better if you're harvesting whole sprigs and leaving it in water on your countertop than fridging it. So not only when you grow your own food, you're gonna have fresher food, but it's also gonna be much less expensive. What I'm gonna do next is I'm actually gonna make a very simple recipe using many of the herbs in my garden and some avocados. So let's go back to my garden and harvest some herbs and save some money. Whoa, can you dig it? Man, those herbs were super expensive. It's like, times that out, $2.49 times 0.75 an ounce, like per pound. Man, that's as much as some good stuff, if you know what I'm saying. Well, not quite, but still, $50 plus a pound of herbs is quite expensive. And guess what? All you guys are in luck because herbs are absolutely one of the easiest things to grow. And some kind of herbs will actually take over your garden if you're not careful. So you do have to be careful on just a few of them. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my garden and show you just some of the herbs that I'm growing. But even more so, I'm actually going to use all the different herbs in a recipe. So, your grandma might have an old Italian spaghetti recipe, and you could harvest fresh herbs out of your garden instead of getting the dried ones. The fresh ones are definitely always the best. That being said, there are many ways you could also use herbs in your everyday creations. Add a little bit of herbs and spices to your salad dressings at night. Sprinkle it over your salad. Add it to your baked goods. I mean, so many different things. Herbs will add different spices and flavor characteristics to all the recipes you make to make them taste so good. Another reason why I like the herbs is because they are very nutritious. Some herbs actually contain some of the highest levels of antioxidants, and those are the things that are really good for us. They help prevent free radical damage, and those things are the things that actually make the herbs smell, for example. So herbs are super nutritious, and next let's go ahead and go around and show you some herbs, and I'm going to pick them, and we're going to go inside and actually make an avocado herb dip to actually use and roll up some of my collard leaves. So let's go around my garden and pick some of these herbs. First, we're in one of my beds that contain a lot of herbs. Actually, this is a bed that I actually had a video on previously. It's actually, I did a video on how to plant mint. So I have mint in actually ceramic pots in the ground. They've been actually growing amazingly. We have some chocolate mint here, and sometimes I just like to pull off the tops to use. They're actually quite fragrant, and plus this will encourage side branching instead of growing really tall. We're gonna go ahead and grab a little mint. Now the thing you want to remember is a little bit of mint goes a long way, so don't grab a whole bunch of mint to use in your recipes. Just a little bit will do. Over here we actually have Chinese chives. These guys are probably the most mild chive. You can almost eat this almost just like lettuce. Man, that's so delicious. It has a really faint onion flavor. Oh, I love them a lot. In Vietnamese it's called ha. Ha! All right, over here we got some cool stuff. We got red shiso, and this is actually related to the mint. And check it out, it's often used in Japanese cooking. We got the red kind right here, and we also got the green kind shiso. Green kind. So yeah, and you want to grow a variety of things so that you always have the herbs that you need on hand, or just make a little potpourri mixture like we're doing tonight to add to our meal. In addition, one of the other herbs that I have growing actually in abundance, actually every other plant, is a parsley. I love parsley. It's so delicious and also very nutritious as well. They usually dress your side of your, meal at a, restaurant with parsley, and usually people throw it out. Eat your parsley, people. It's so good for you. So we're just gonna go ahead and grab some of this parsley. The good thing is, in this climate, parsley grows like a weed. It's something that I've been able to keep alive very easily. Let's see what else is in this bed that's really fun and exciting. Oh, this guy right here. This guy is called stevia. Actually, I did a good episode on stevia, on harvesting the stevia seeds. I love stevia. It's one of my favorite all-time herbs, and it also grows really well in the climate here. The leaves, if you taste them, man, it'll knock you out. It actually has a sweet flavor, like you're eating sugar, but there's no sugar involved. So it doesn't mess with your blood sugar for those people that are diabetic. It's actually, definitely really good. So we're just gonna grab a few leaves because, all these different herbs, when you combine them, how we're gonna do it, it's really gonna make a flavor sensation in your mouth. And, I don't know if I have necessarily a recipe that I do. I just pick a little bit of herbs and chop it all up and mix it in. It's gonna be delicioso. Let's go to the next bed and pick some more herbs. Over in this bed, we even have more herbs. Actually, this is my dedicated herb bed, or it actually turned into it. I have tree collards in here, but I also have a lot of herbs. We got things like rosemary, and you could just pick the rosemary leaves and you could eat them. What I like to do is pick a little bit and chop them up pretty fine, and then you just get flavor hints, in the recipes. In addition, we got some thyme. Hey, if you got the money, I got the time. But also, don't forget, you can eat the herb flowers. They're not often sold, but they're actually the most delicious part of the herb plant itself, because the herb flowers have a really light flavor of the herb itself, and also they contain the pollen, and also because they are different colors, they have additional antioxidants, and that's what I'm into, eating high nutrient dense antioxidant foods, and that's in the herbs. We're on another side of this herb bed, and we got a lot more herbs. We have herbs like sage, so we can pick the sage leaves and eat them. But even better than the sage leaves, I love these sage flowers. I normally grow the pineapple sage for the flowers itself, so I love those flowers. But this sage is a broadleaf sage, and it has these beautiful purple flowers. Let's go ahead and pluck this so you guys can see there. Look at these purple flowers in there. These purple flowers are edible, and if you pluck out a flower, you can see a little white stem end on that, and that's a part, if you just bite that off, oh man, you get like the flower nectar. And if you have hummingbirds or want to attract hummingbirds, plant something like this stuff. The hummingbirds love to stick their long beak into this plant and actually suck out the nectar. But it's also good for us to eat. And guess what? These guys are going to go right in my herb mixture as well. In addition, on this side, we have some of this stuff right here. This is called the hot and spicy oregano. So this can be used in place of, hot peppers. I like to use it. It'll actually add a nice light me up or pick me up to all your dishes. So I'm just going to go ahead and just pick a few leaves. Once again, on all the herbs, a little bit goes a long way. It could easily overpower your dishes if you add too many. So I like to tend on the side of caution. Just pick a few, a little bit of each, unless there's one I like a lot, then I'll use a little bit more. This is the last bed we'll be talking about tonight, and around the outside we got okra and also some marigolds planted around, and then in the middle we have some tomatillos, but I'm not talking about those. We're going to talk about the basil that's on the inner circle right here. And I have a few different kinds, including the cinnamon basil, and once again, besides just the standard sweet basil that many people are familiar with, there's oodles and oodles of different varieties of basil. Some of the varieties I have this year are like boxwood basil, Greek columnar basil, the cinnamon basil, the Thai basil, the purple opal basil, actually the Pesto Perpetual basil. There's so many different types, and I would encourage you to grow as many types and varieties as you can because they all have different flavors. And one recipe might need this kind of flavor, and another recipe might want the cinnamon basil because it actually has cinnamon overtones. This is the Pesto Perpetual basil, and this one supposedly doesn't go to flower, and so I like that a lot. And we're just gonna, and the leaves are variegated too, so they're actually nice and pretty. So we're just gonna go ahead and harvest some of these leaves here. Once again, a little bit of basil goes a long way. And oftentimes when harvesting basils and herbs, I'll just be pinching off the top because that'll encourage more side growth. In addition, this cinnamon basil here is flowering. So what we're going to do is we're just going to basically deadhead it and take off the top here. This is the flower petals and the seed pods up here. And yes, these guys are absolutely edible. Actually, another episode I was going to do is I'm going to use all my flower tops and seed pods to actually make a pesto recipe. Besides the avocado herb dip that we're making, we're also gonna actually put some of these in wraps. So you might be thinking, John, do you use like burritos or corn tortillas or what? No, I don't need to use any of that. I'm growing my own wraps. They're all around my garden. And actually, here's one right here. This is called Chard Wrap. So you're gonna pick a nice large leaf of chard, or actually any leafy green. You're just gonna put like the sauce right down the middle and then roll it up. Just like a big fatty when you're in high school. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick some chard leaves and some tree collard leaves. We'll meet you inside and make this delicious avocado herb dip. So as you can see, I got a whole nice little bowl full of herbs, and actually most of it is actually parsley because that has a neutral flavor. It's not gonna impart too much of a flavor hit in the recipe. And so that's there. Then we got those, leaves like I talked about, the chard leaves and the tree collard leaves, as well as I got a cucumber, some asparagus, and we'll get into those later. And that's what we're gonna dip into, the herbed avocado dip. It's gonna be so good. So the first step is you're gonna need a few ingredients. Obviously the avocado is main part of the dip. Also you're gonna use some kimchi or sauerkraut. We have some sauerkraut today, actually horseradish leek sauerkraut. This stuff's actually good stuff. And also we have some peppers, some little sweet peppers, and also some little cherry tomatoes. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mash up the avocado. So we're just basically gonna go ahead and cut these guys in half, and we're gonna scoop out the inside into our mixing bowl right here. And avocados are definitely a good food. I love them a lot, and some people might say, John, avocados are so high in fat. Well, that's right, avocados do have fat, but I would much rather eat the fat from avocados than other fats that are available. Sometimes on the little pit there, I like to just chop in my knife and turn, and it comes out in one easy swoop. And we're going to go ahead and scoop out the rest of all these avocados in our bowl. So one of the things you might be thinking is, John, hey, don't avocados have cholesterol? Well, no, don't worry. If you're eating avocados, you're not eating any cholesterol. Cholesterol only comes from things that have a liver. So like animals produce cholesterol, but there's no cholesterol in plant foods. That being said, there is some fat in avocados, and I prefer to eat this avocado fat than any other kind of fat. So good. Maybe except coconut fat. But once again, in the avocado with the fat, there's all other kind of antioxidants, pigments, and phytonutrients that are good for you. And many other fat sources don't have the wide range of antioxidants as the avocado. Alright, so I got all 3 avocados in the bowl there, and let's move on to the next step. So now that we got all the avocados in the bowl, the next thing we're going to need to do is add the tomatoes and peppers. Now you could dice these up, but no, I want a liquid consistency. It's going to help bring all the mashed up avocados together. So what I'm going to do very carefully is just throw all these cherry tomatoes into the blender. Then we're just going to go ahead and pick off the green stems of the peppers very carefully, because we don't want those in there. And we're just going to drop the peppers in. So maybe you're thinking, John, aren't you dropping those in with the seeds and all? Well, yes, you can eat the pepper seeds. They're often, if you go to a pizza place, they got the spicy pepper seeds to shake on your pizza. That's all these guys are. And if you have a high power blender, such as the Vitamix Turbo Blend VS, it'll just pulverize that, and you'll never know it was there. In addition, the white pith inside the pepper is actually really nutritious. So I like using the Whole Foods whenever possible. I don't necessarily like shopping at Whole Foods, but I like using and eating Whole Foods whenever possible. So there's the last pepper. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of sauerkraut. This is add as much or as little as you'd like. The sauerkraut gives it a nice, a nice unique flavor. Let's go ahead and put it that way. I love sauerkraut. It has a beneficial probiotics, just like we should be adding mycorrhizae and use compost teas in our garden to add the beneficial bacteria. We also have a terrain or beneficial bacteria in our gut, and many things like antibiotics wipe them out, much like chemicals would wipe out the good bacteria and fungi in our gardens. So by eating things like sauerkraut, we can add those beneficial microbes back into our guts, which actually help us digest our food, believe it or not. And also, I've heard that they make up a part of our immune system. So let's see, we got that in there. Next, we're going to go ahead and do this off camera. We got it on top of the blender there, and we're just going to go ahead and pulse it up. So we're not spinning the blender full speed. We're just pulsing it to like get a nice chop. You could also do this in a food processor. We're about done pulsing that up, and what you can see what we got here, we basically got like a thick mixture. It's not a puree, but we have nice texture in there because that'll add actually texture to our mixture. Next, we're going to process the herbs. So how do you process the herbs? What I like to do is actually just take all the herbs, put them on the cutting board. I'll like kind of try to compress them all into like one small ball. And I'll carefully hold it tight, take my knife, and I like to use ceramic knives, they're actually really sharp, and I'll just go ahead and really like cut this stuff up like super fine, much like if you're shaking herbs out of a herb shaker. It's all like diced up. That's basically what we're doing. We're going to dice this up, and when you dice or masticate or even blend things, you're making more surface area. Some of the volatile oils come out of the herbs. You could actually, it smells really good. But also you're going to get better digestion because you're creating more surface area. So we're just dicing this stuff up here. I got a couple flowers in there as well. Because if you get hit with a whole like mint leaf, it has a total different taste sensation than if it's like totally a small little tiny piece. And especially if it's a small tiny piece mixed with all kinds of other things, it like, I don't know, it kind of messes with your brain, like all the flavor sensations in this little dip here. So delicious. Alright, so I like to go over it, several times, like diagonal all the way down to make sure I got this nice, fine, chopped texture. Sometimes I'll even regroup, load it back up, and I'll cut some more. Now, once again, I'm not trained as a chef, so if my knife skills need improving, keep it yourself. I figure my knife skills are successful because I rarely ever cut myself. And I think that's the whole goal. Get your food cut up and don't cut yourself. And then you're a success. Alright, so as you can see here, we got all these diced up herbs. I then like to just, mix them around, play with your food a little bit. Zam! No, I think it's pow! I think it's zap! There, kaboom! Alright, so you can see we're mixing some of these herbs in. So what we're going to do now is just add all our herbs into the bowl. Now we're going to add the liquid to the bowl. And what I like to do is I like to use a long, skinny spatula thingy. So that allows me to get into the blender carafe to scoop all my stuff out. Coming out nice and good. And look at that nice, rich, vibrant red color. Once we got that all in there, the next thing is to mix it up. We could use a spoon and try to like chop up the avocados a little bit. And I might do this for a little bit. But I have a better idea. What I have is the juicer pusher. You could use a Vitamix tamper. And this guy could just come in there and literally press down all the avocado to mash it up. At the same time, I could use this as a little stir and stir it up as well. You want to make sure you mix those herbs around nice and well so that they're evenly distributed. Once again, because you don't want a person just getting a bite of herb that's not going to taste that good, but when the herb blends up with the avocado, especially the fatty richness of the avocado and the flavors of the tomato and pepper, and don't forget that sauerkraut. Oh, it's so good. So as you can see, we're just mixing this up real quick. So I'm just about done mixing it up. And there we go. There's our avocado herb dip. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, we're going to wrap. We're going to make a wrap. So once again, we got our tree collard leaves. We're going to just take a tree collard leaf, take a little bit of this, and put it right down the middle. And what we could do if we wanted to, we could chop up other more tomatoes, more peppers, little bits of cucumber, little bits of whatever you got from the garden, put it on top, and then just roll it up like a big fatty. And this is one fatty that you're not going to smoke. You're going to eat it. So here we go. Man, that is really good. You really taste all the flavor of the herbs. It just comes out and hits you. I mean, you can't compare fresh, homegrown herbs grown in your garden. Hopefully you're using compost and rock dust to bring out the flavors of the herbs to like any dried product from the store, even fresh product from the store, because that stuff has been picked, maybe 7 days before you're even buying it. So it's already old and losing flavor. And especially some herbs like basil, as you saw in the video earlier, doesn't like to be kept in the refrigeration. If you do buy your basil, you do pick extra herbs from your garden, you want to store it in water. That being said, if you have a garden, only pick as many as you're going to need and leave it on the plant. That's the best way to preserve your food. Leave it on the plant, let it keep growing until you need it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, learning more about herbs and how they can save you money and how to make a delicious avocado herb dip and wrap them up too. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time and keep on growing.